be recorded. So just, this will be a private link to the recording so that the features can be recorded. I'm Kelly DeMar. I'm on the board of the International Women's Writing Guild, and I'm honored to produce our bi-monthly open mic. It happens twice a month, one Sunday night per month at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is where we are right now, and also one Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock per month, so that we can sometimes get our European and other guests from other places around the world that have a time zone difference to also join us on those occasions. So it's really a pleasure to welcome you all here tonight, and also to let you know we're doing something tonight that was slightly different than what we've done recently. We have our own wonderful Cynthia Manick back to read for us tonight a couple of poems, but also to introduce the poets in her critique group that she's been running on Wed Ink for us for the past 3 months for the International Women's Writing Guild. A small group poetry craft experience for the participants. And 2 were scheduled to be here tonight. Of course, Dana Krugle, whom you see here, and Pavlina Gatakova, which I know many of you know Pavlina because she's been a member of the Guild for so many years. So the first thing I am going to do is introduce Cynthia to you, reintroduce to you, because she's really been a big supporter of our experience here on the open mic. And I want to introduce her to you, but I also want to mention that you're all featured. You are all featured writers here tonight, and I very much appreciate all of you who have signed up to read. And I just want to remind you that our readings are tight. We accept 20 signups, and then we have a wait list. And we do have a lot of juggling sometimes between the records that I get from Michelle and our evening that starts. So we do lose some people. We definitely do try to get people from the waiting list in. And I just want to mention that we do have this 3-minute time limit that we're pretty fussy about. And we established that in our summer conference many years ago, our week-long intensive that happens in the summer in our big open mic experience on which we modeled this. And 3 minutes was the length that really worked well. So we do time it. I'm the timer. And I will have to call your ending at 3 minutes. If you go over your 3 minutes, then I will say, finish the sentence in your mouth. And then we have to move on to the next person. And I hope you'll understand. And we do encourage you to actually read and time so that you're feeling really prepared and confident. You're not worried about, oh, Kelly coming in and cutting you off. So we're going to go to the open mic directly after Cynthia reads, Dana reads. If Pavlina comes, she will read. And then I want to ask them 1 or 2 questions. We keep the chat room open for you? Because, if you were sitting in the audience, you would get to applaud. You would get to nudge each other, elbow each other. I'm a big whisperer. I would be whispering to the people sitting next to me. Oh, wasn't that good? Whatever. We like to keep the chat room open for all of you. Okay, let's see. Lynn is locked out, and let me see if I can, while I'm gonna introduce Cynthia so that she can talk, and then I will try to help Lynn. Okay, so chat, say where you're from, tell each other what you like about what they're reading. Everybody read the chat because it's one of the ways that we really get connected. We're a community. We welcome you to our community, and we want to engage with each other. I mean, we just don't have enough time and places, particularly in this COVID world, to share our writing and be supportive listeners to each other. And so we feel that this time is that time to do that. And so that when you're writing during your week, you always know, okay, I can always get to that IWWG open mic and feel like I'm part of a writing community. Cynthia Manick is the author of Blue Hallelujahs, published by Black Lawrence Press, and she's the editor of Soul Sister Review, a poetry compilation that is published by Jammy Publishing. She's received fellowships from Cave Canem, Hedgebrook, McDowell Colony, and Chateau de la Napoule, among others. She's the winner of the Lascaux Prize in Collected Poetry, and she was awarded an honorable mention for the 2019 Furious Flower Poetry Prize. She's founder of the reading series Soul Sister Review, check it out, and her poem, Things I Carry into the World, was made into a film by Motion Poems, an organization dedicated to video poetry. And she's debuted on Tidal for National Poetry Month. She's a performer at literary festivals, libraries, universities, and most recently the Brooklyn Museum. And her work has appeared in the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day series, Los Angeles Review of Books, the Wall Street Journal, and elsewhere. She currently serves on the editorial board of Alice Jane Books. We are thrilled to have you with us. Thank you, Cynthia. I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Please mute if you haven't.
Hey everyone. Hi, IWWG family. You guys look fantastic. Are you guys drinking your water? You look all hydrated and nice looking. It's very, very nice. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read 2 poems. And the first poem was a hard poem. It was hard to write, but I think it was good to write. After I break us down a little bit, I'm going to build us back up with a happier poem. This first poem is called Dear Future Body, and I actually put the link in the chat. It was published a couple of months ago by Vida. So you want to look at that if yourself, look at it if you want. Okay, this poem is called Dear Future Body, Keep Your Skin Thick. Dear Future Body, yesterday my legs were propped in stirrup as the gyno said, you should go on The Biggest Loser. I heard cities at the skull base stuttering over each other, vying in vows of your roles and the garden under your chin. The implied real estate of don't you want to be beautiful, unmade and remade. We have known the trap of nameless and hungry BMI indexes. Dear God, in sample size fashion, I escape and get caught in the same geography again and again. I forget I am more than a house of great bones, of Vaseline and Werther's originals. The caucasity of a well-meaning, she has such a pretty face. I'm writing to tell you about a type of war. People carving the cavalry horses to survive, threat outline of social media models, and how many calories is this bottle of air? What else can we eliminate? I always thought the planet Pluto was a black girl, now downgraded and mostly out. Dear future body, take a break today. Tell me, how are your kisses? Sometimes they give birth to promises, a season in the word, oil and oxygen at the ready. Are you someone's night bloom? Remember to trace what remains, the prayers your mouth learns. I want us living, not just alive. Thanks, guys. That was called Dear Future Body, Keep Your Skin Thick. The next poem I'm gonna read is called There Are No Unsacred Spaces. It's actually on Agni's website. So I'll put in the link in the chat as well to read it later if you like. This poem will build us back up. There are no unsacred spaces. I'm trying to tell you that the world is beautiful. All the hellos we say in a week or month, the way the grooves of the grin know what to do. Think about the first time man went from 4 legs, hairy knuckles folded over, to 2. The moment the spine realized it could brace against his cage, that the bones wouldn't splinter and spark. The sound that escaped. From that height, where did his eyes look first? I bet he wondered about who feeds the sun, who can stand next to him. I'm trying to tell you something about the universe. You connect each lake and ocean with a pencil. They mirror constellations. The barking stars are like dimes. They know about the tenderness of orchids as if their sides were made to contain opposites, like we contain opposites. They know that the surf never takes everything. A body always documents where it's been, down to the horse, shoe crab. I'm trying to tell you that it's okay to curse God a little. Now your mother keeps giving you plants that you overwater or underwhelm. To press burden over joy, fire over water, because hurt can get so loud sometimes. I'm trying to tell you that history doesn't begin with language, with words on top of words. Latest dating app has boulders and endangered blacksmiths. I like to enter every space with their craggy hands. Thanks, guys. That was their No Sacred Spaces. So next up, we have my class. So I taught a 3-month critique workshop for IWWG, and I had a fantastic time. I always think that great poems are about crafts and bridging craft with heart. And so in this workshop, we were able to sort of look at each other's poems, critique them as peers and as student to teacher, and also learn how to become better editors. A group of 3 students, they had 2 poems were due per month, critiqued by their peers and me. Also provided bi-weekly prompts in case students needed inspiration. At the end of the course, I also did one-on-ones with each student to discuss the trajectory of the work. I think the group was a good way to build a cohort, to build a way for people to understand your work over long periods of time. And I think the students also became much, much better editors. So first up, we have the lovely Dana Krugle. And Dana, I love Dana because Dana has a love of language and how it fuels the imagination. You know, I actually decided to call the group Mayhem and Mayhems because I wanted the writers to get a little rowdy. I wanted them to be vulnerable and to sort of go wild on the page. And this group definitely did that. And Dana is an example of that. She does a great job of creating worlds, of expanding a poem wide and bringing it down to a minute point. I think she's also great about talking about time, memory, and relationships. So let's give it up for Dana and her wonderful, wonderful poems. Dana, it's on you.
Thanks, Cynthia. Thanks, Kelly. I hope Pavlina joins us soon. I'm so honored to be here and read tonight, and I'm really excited. I feel like I'm going to take us light and go dark. So hopefully Pavlina will bring us back out of the darkness. But that's the way I've sort of organized these, and it's too late now to change. So let me pull this up, and I'll just dive in. 3 of these poems are from the revisions from my classmates and from Cynthia's feedback, and I'm excited to share them. I've never shared them before online, and 2 are older, but also feel sort of like they thematically fit in with this pack. So so I'm just gonna start. The first poem is called Geography of a Junk Drawer. On the glossy brochure of Derek's Parkside Cafe, a peach-plated sun suspends above a pig in a cornfield of diner forks, knives, and a perched rooster on a shadowed jug hides the monk's smile in a wolf's den of drums, pipes, shakers, and masks as he hands out postcards from Chiang Mai, my shaved head, in a newspaper clipping from '98, a matchbook from a pit stop near the Blue Note, under a moon to get lost in, stubs of swapping riffs and soloing on fluid string bends, the Mississippi blues man at the beginning and end. I should have practiced more, as old passports stamp themselves and howl in their leather sleeves. When the plums are scarlet, wavelets dilate on ribs of sand. Almond trees branch the young soldier, motionless. Pearl oysters on the rising tide their silvering voices. You kneel by a horse conch, plunging hooves on the bleats of the world. These fanned scallops and dominions of time, you hear a thin stream of water, quiet breathing, ivy braiding near wild geese. Alphabet calories crawl over a shampoo lid on the bath ledge. Hold me long or hold me longer. This silent hour in the rear, damp, edible petals in blossom soup, a drunken bee, muskmelons, banana leaves, and children in the fields. Butterflies hover over the scarlet plums. The stars, the mustard seeds you plant are you, the moon, wind-swept, furious loving without the killing. Whisper into your beloved shell, I will paint whatever you say. A shadow is a gentle lover. The shadow is the ice melting down ravines of drowned hip bones, beatings strung in the sunlight. It rubs its head between two stones, peeling back its skin, turning itself inside and out. A shadow as soon as this stretches like a cad in tall eelgrass. This one casts barbed, spear-like missiles. Men are shadow, women are too, from past lives, twirling inside white mountains, smooth flamenco calves. These last two poems are geographically located in Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up. So just a little background on there. The first one's called 1929. Great-granddaddy jumped the Smithfield Street Bridge. His son, a truck driver who hunted groundhogs, drowned the blue heeler pups stashed under Frankie Cecilia's porch. He plucked them by the scruff and stuffed them into a potato sack and tossed that bag into the Ohio River. That's when Uncle Jack's addiction to heroin got worse. After Nam, before Nam, he cocked a black shotgun to Papap's head and said, if you ever hit our mother again, I'll kill you. And this is the last one that I'm going to read of these 5 poems, and it's called Pittsburgh Rare. It's a sonnet. I'm just going to define, if for those of you who might not know, that Pittsburgh Rare is a cooking term regionally in Pittsburgh that basically outside of Pittsburgh would be black and blue. So it would be like charred on the outside and bloody in the middle, usually pertaining to steak or cuts of beef. So this is called Pittsburgh Rare. Mother tried to kill herself in the kitchen a few times and failed. They gave her lithium, the Greek word for stone, trace of sick brain, lithios, depressed in linoleum spines, her wines on cheap vinyl squares, Kraft's mac and cheese on Monday nights, remembrance of the Steelers from the 70s, 80s, and later the 90s after death, little concealed deaths of mine. Her mind slips, and screes crumble at my father's knees at the P&LE railroad tracks, dismantled, steamed breath of steel beams in the yard, the guard dog nuggets, snatched grilled steak from his hand and bid for extra affection. For more meat, we drove through for beef at Winky's. 2 big winks, slaw, drinks, makes you happy to be hungry. Ketchup, fries, spilling on seats on this porous adobe floor where my mother's bloodstains came into view I remember why I love fast food chains. And that's it. Thank you. Yay. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dana. And also thank you, Cynthia. Um, so Paulina is not going to be able to make it. She has tried to get in by phone, and she has tried to get in lots of different ways. So she's not been able to. And so she really sends her great regrets in regard to that. Let me begin by, but let's talk to Dana and Cynthia for just a minute. And I would love to ask, and also if anybody out there has a specific question that you would like to ask Dana or Cynthia, would you put it right now into the chat room, and I will take a look at it. One of the things, Dana, I would love to hear from you is, would you just talk a little bit about your experience of the before and after of your experience in Cynthia's workshop? Maybe just in regard to how you felt about the beginning, showing up, what you were looking for, and then maybe something that surprised you that you took away, or anything about the experience of the before and after that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially I had taken a class with Cynthia before, so this was a different forum to work with her. It was a longer form, and so the beginning for me, it was I was just hoping to generate some new stuff, and I think what happened as it went on with the ongoing feedback and the ongoing experience of reading each other's work, I just felt that my own commitment deepened over the course of the before and after, where like I wanted to write as good as poems as some of the other girls were writing as well. And I wanted to really like see that transition from from first draft or second draft to as close as I could get in the time that we had together. And it was a really great experience. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I focus on in my own work. I learned what other people don't understand in my work, where I'm not clear, or where I think I'm clear and I'm not. And as far as working specifically with Cynthia, her feedback was so wonderful. It was so helpful because you first get the first wave, and then you get the second wave of the student, the other participants.
You mean you get the first wave is the peer critique?
Yes, yeah, the peer feedback, and then which is very helpful, and then you get the second wave, and then you get the third wave, and you feel like you've got so much assistance for each poem. Like each poem is getting so much special attention, and for me that was helpful in feeling motivated to keep working on it and finish it, or get it to as finished state as I could in the time.
So you started out wanting to generate a lot of new work, and then you felt like you really got kind of like, I'm getting challenged here. Yes. By my peers, and then I'm feeling like I'm really getting something, and I'm kind of getting off on that. And you guys did this all on wet ink, which is interesting because you didn't use Zoom on this. And so it was all using the architecture of wet ink to comment on each other's work and read each other and post your poems. So this was a new format for us to be using. Cynthia, Dorothy Randall Gray asked a question of you, which I'd love to get to. She wants to know, what should people keep in mind when editing poems? And I was going to ask as well, connected with that, like, you probably have a couple of 2 or 3 golden craft tidbits that you share that sort of guide your role as a teacher. And I'm curious about what those little nuggets, if we could have 1 or 2 of them here tonight.
First, I would say no one is like you. Don't try to be anyone else but yourself. No one has your experience. No one has your memories. No one has your lexicon. No one can be what you can be. So write for yourself and not for another poet. Write for yourself. Secondly, I would say the economy of words. Don't say things in 10 words that can be said in 3. You want to enrapture your reader, not enslave them. So make sure, and not, you want to enrapture them.
Down.
You know, you want to enrapture your reader. They didn't know. I'm like, you know what? Dana's like, I'm like, no, no, no. Yes, her poems. And lastly, I always tell my students, don't give me deer, give me venison. Meaning that if you're going to talk about a car, don't give me a regular car. What about your car? What color was it? Where'd you get it from? How can I see your car? Everyone knows what an apple is. How can I see your apple? So when you're writing, give me venison, not deer.
Yeah. And of course, I think what's interesting in this particular gathering that we have here tonight, and in most of our gatherings with the Guild, is like we're multi-genre. We really, you know, the women who come here tonight write in all genres, and that those writing comments certainly apply to poetry, but they also apply that specificity and the economy apply across the board. So here's a challenge. Here's just my last question for you. I'd love to hear about your own experience of growing as a poet in your craft. And if it were an animal or a process or a journey, would it have been like an airplane ride or a slow boat to China? I'm just kind of, I'd love to hear about your own growth as a poet.
It's a therapy question, Kelly. It's a therapy question.
Sorry.
Should I answer that, or is
Dana, you will answer?
Oh,
yeah, Dana, you go first. That's you, Dana. You go first.
I think that I'm such a slow, I'm slow in sometimes coming to the page, but then once I do, it's usually because I've got a bunch of stuff in my head that I've got to figure out how to. And so like, I think of it like, you know, lately I've been trying to really connect with like plants and growth in that regard. And I think about like, you know, you plant a seed in the ground and it needs both the sun and the shade. And you could stand over it and yell, grow, but it's not going to grow. You know what I mean? And so for me, learning how to be patient with myself, with the craft, and also like feeling like, oh, like I whipped out this awesome poem. And then after some feedback, I'm like, this sucked. Like, this is not awesome. Or, you know what I mean? There were moments that were awesome, but like, sort of like, and it's not an ego bruise so much as just like,
no, wave your hand, everybody, if you've had that experience of, oh, it's not as awesome as I thought.
We all have it. We all have it. Yeah.
Good. I love that sort of image, Dana, of how sometimes, yes, we want to yell at the plant, grow! And, you know, I think we probably all had that experience. So thank you so much for making it so visual and concrete as, because then of course we can't do that. And that's a beautiful way to really phrase that. And I appreciate that. Okay, Cynthia, did you want to take a crack at my therapeutic question?
I will just say that no writer can write in a vacuum. So like Dana would say, you write a poem and you think it's amazing. You're like, oh, this poem, I killed it last time, mic drop, I'm going to bed. Because the next morning you read it again, you're like, oh, the mic did not drop. This poem is just okay. So you need a cohort, people to bounce your poems off of, because you get too close to your own work. I learned that, you know, during the course of my writing, that I need other people to sort of, after I've edited it, look at it and say, well, this is your go-to words. If you use it 4 times already, another poem, do you want to use it again? You need other people like that in your circle to sort of help you be better writers and to be better editors of your own work.
That trusted peership, yes.
Yeah, you need a trusted peership.
Wonderful, thank you. So I really have felt so enriched by the readings of both of you.
Question in the chat. Someone asked who inspired me and Dana.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you for noticing that. Well, would you like to respond to that first, Cynthia? And then
Yeah, I'll do really quickly.
sure.
The deer and venison quote is from C.D. Wright. I had a friend who had C.D. Wright as a mentor, and C.D. Wright told that to her. I've always remembered the whole deer and venison thing because of that specificity. C.D. Wright, Nikki Finney, Lucille Clifton, economy of words. She can write, she could break your world down in like 4 lines, which is ridiculous, but she was able to do it. So Lucille Clifton, Gwendolyn Brooks, those are my top ones I go to over and over again. Those poets are not only gifted about economy of words, but also gifted about looking at the world and looking at your life through the world. They're really good about writing about world events by writing about their own events. So those are my top 4 right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I wrote those in the chat room. If anybody knows the correct spelling of Nikki Finney's name, please correct me, because sorry, I'm not sure on the K's on that or the N's. Dana, how about you? Do you want to mention anybody in particular? One person even?
Yeah, I mean, actually, C.D. Wright is one of my favorites as well. I think, I don't know if she would agree with it or not, but she was sort of called like an elliptical poet. And so she would narratively sort of come back around throughout the poem in a way. And I felt very drawn to that. Some of the stuff that, you know, I write outside of poetry is a little bit more narrative and character driven, and she's cinematic as well. So a lot of her images will be leaps, cinematic leaps. So I was very drawn to her. Lately, I'm sort of exploring just through classwork and whatnot, some really like ancient stuff. So I'm doing this Sumerian priestess, Enidwana. She's supposedly like one of the first authors of literature, and her stuff is really you know, the groundwork for just about anything thematically, the epic, free verse, hymns, odes, whatever. You can kind of find these contemporary resonances to the present, and I sort of I'm fascinated with that right now. So and modeling some of the lines, they're fragments, so there's spaces in the translations that I feel like I'm fascinated with, because we as contemporary writers kind of like put intentional spaces in our work, you know. It's sort of figuring out how to do that accurately.
And the M dash.
And the
M dash. I love the M dash so much. I use it anytime I want to. I don't really use it correctly. I use it because I want to use it. Everybody has their thing. That's mine, the M dash.
Yeah, I mean, Dick is
I use them a lot too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been wonderful, more than I expected, even though sadly we are missing Pavlina. We'll get her back. We will get Pavlina. We'll find a spot for her in the near future where we can slip her in. And I'm sorry that it didn't work out this time. But what I am going to do right now, and thank you again, let's wave our hands and even unmute and clap if you like. Just make sure to mute yourself again.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was great.
Yes, thank you so much, ladies. Thank you. Very helpful and wonderful and enchanting to listen to. We're going to go to our open mic readers list now. And what I'm going to do is I'm not going to read the whole list through. What I'm going to read is first 5 names that I'm going to get to. So because the list changes so much, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing that. But I want to remind you that 3 minutes, I am going to be timing. So when I call your name, and say it is time for you, Gail Gazelle, because you're our first one up. Then go ahead and unmute yourself, say hello. We want to do just a quick sound check, make sure you're in the room. And if anybody knows or notices, if I'm calling a name of someone that you know that person left or she never came, just unmute and tell me. We'll keep it simple because it's just a little bit hard. I don't have a check-in procedure for everybody. So feel free to speak up and let me know if there's somebody I'm calling on who's not here. And if we run into any difficulty with your sound, what I'll do is I'll just move on to the next person. And then when you're ready, you can chat me in the room and tell me you're ready and we'll circle back to you. So the first names that I have, Gail, you can go ahead and unmute. And then we're going to have Linda Flickinger and Robin Alpern and Lori Tallarico. By the way, if I call you and you've gotten accidentally registered for the wrong spot, like, oh, I didn't want to read, I signed up to listen, just tell me. That's no big deal. No problem at all. We're not going to force you to read. So we got Gail, Linda, Robin, Lori, and Pastor Abiola Odunlami. And I'm glad to know that you are back. Hopefully you are here. So Gail, whenever you're ready, we would love to hear you read. And I'm going to set my timer. And just one quick thing I forgot to mention, any introductory remarks you make, and they're not necessary, but if you do decide to make them, they're included in your 3 minutes. So just a reminder about that. Everything you're gonna say beyond hello is included in your 3 minutes. Thank you. Gail, whenever you're ready.
Gail Gazelle, I'm here in Boston. I am a hospice physician. I'm faculty at Harvard Medical School, and I also survived really severe childhood sexual abuse. So I'm reading from my book, Everyday Resilience, a practical guide to build inner strength and weather life's challenges, and it comes out on Tuesday. Negativity has a life and force of its own. Even a minor event like a grouchy look from someone, a mistake we make at work, or being stuck in traffic for a few extra minutes can spiral into a sense that everything is going wrong with ourselves and with our world. Perhaps the most problematic of all negative thought patterns is what's known as the inner critic. We all experience this voice in our heads. It's the one busy evaluating us, finding fault, and throwing insults at us for our actions and words. Our inner critic says things like, "You're not smart enough. Why did you say that? You'll never amount to anything." Often the inner critic is a mix of critical voices we've heard over the years from parents, teachers, coaches, and others, internalized and knit together into a painful core.
The participant is lost.